Yeah. See, now we're live.
Well, you know, especially in a group setting.
Yeah, that's no doubt.
Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. We've got a very special episode today. We're talking with Mike Foley, USPSA presidential candidate. Just to recap, all four candidates were reached out to. Mike said yes. Jack Suber said yes. Manny, he was kind of busy. And Paul Highland doesn't like the language we use on the show, so he will not be joining us. But we do have Mike, and that's good. To help ask questions, we have Candace and Hopkins.
Yep, cool intro here, all that.
Yes, Mike. Let's get the ball rolling. Who is Mike Foley? For those who don't know, who is this guy? You've got a tactical beard. I'm guessing you were in SEAL Team 6, or is that not correct?
Let's dispel that rumor right now. SEAL Team 6, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, nothing like that. I'm just a darn good looking guy who's not actually a hipster either. So.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about your background. Like, what's your history in the sport? What kind of job experience, if any, do you want to talk about? Like, who are you? People want to know.
You know, I started doing this like everybody else. Ran into some guys at a gun range, and they said, hey, you should come with us this weekend. We're going to do something called USPSA. I reluctantly joined in, and the rest has been an addiction and a passion and a real love. And I started about 15 years ago, and I shoot every division there is, including some divisions in other sports besides USPSA. But like most everybody out there, just can't get enough of it. I shot 56 matches one year. Probably only shoot about 40 matches a year now, local and majors combined. I don't dry fire. Yeah. About 10 years ago, I took a buyout from my real-world job in corporate America working for TransUnion and got into the firearms industry. About 8 years ago, Chuck Bradley asked me to join him at Shearers Connection, and I did. And in the next 5 years or so, we made that company 5 times larger than it was the day I walked through the door. I'm still doing that 4 days a week, and the important thing here is if elected USPSA president, I'll be resigning my position there and only work for USPSA at that point. Oh, and the Ninja Turtles.
Okay. So, 15 years in the sport. I do have one follow-up based on, you shoot every division, right?
I do shoot every division except Limited 10.
If production optics was a thing, would you shoot that?
Well, you know, they've already got their poster boy. There's a guy for that. Unfortunately, he's not going to come on the show. If it becomes a thing, I'm certain I'll buy 2 more guns. I can't help myself. That's an addiction. But I think if there's enough interest in production optics, it'll happen. And if there isn't, it won't. And it's likely going to be a thing by the time they seat the next president, the way it's looking.
All right, cool.
Can I follow up that with how do you see the divisions we have currently, and what changes do you want to see in the future?
Well, if it becomes a thing, and it's called production optics, my own opinion, not necessarily my agenda per se, because it's really what the members want, but my own opinion is that it should be anything that's legal for production with a slide-mounted optic. You simply cut the top third out of the box so that the gun fits the box otherwise, it's on the list otherwise, and it has this optic, and that's the only change. But that's just my knee-jerk reaction. Like I said, I'm not the poster child for this thing at all.
So. What do you think about the current divisions?
Well, no, if you didn't care, if we're not worried about what the members think, would you have production optics be a deal?
I'm not going to lead the charge, but if it's something that we're forced to work on, absolutely. Why not? I mean, Single stack was kind of the same way, and I know that's kind of the fence riding answer there, but if there's enough interest in this, it'll be a thing. There are 5 companies producing factory guns this way, all kinds of custom guys doing it. If there's ever going to be a time to do it, it's probably now. I know the folks at IDPA have looked at it hard. They've decided not to do it, and unlike USPSA, they can't look at it again for 2 years. They're bound by their own rules, so to speak.
Do you feel like a blind squirrel found a nut in that? Like IDPA made the right decision, or no?
I think time will tell on that one. I really do. I mean, it's not. It's not one of my charges. I mean, long before I think we need to visit divisions, we probably need to do a little better at sucking less, putting information out there, being transparent, paying our bills, crazy stuff.
All right. You'll get to talk about who's sucking what in a minute, but we've got to talk about one more question on divisions. Are there any divisions we have now that you would alter or delete?
There are some low participation divisions. I'm not much of a let's get rid of divisions guy. If 6 guys want to show up and compete amongst themselves and pay their fee, let them play. That doesn't mean we need to add 15 more, but I can't see getting rid of divisions at this point.
Okay, so divisions are kind of like HPV. Like if you have it, it doesn't really matter, but it's not going to go away, right?
That's a pretty good analogy. Some divisions are like HPV.
Seems borderline inappropriate to talk this way, but that's all right.
Paul Hyman, think about it right now.
What? Yes. All right, Mike. Now you kind of alluded to this earlier. What are the problems in USPSA? What are the big problems?
Well, whether it is real or perceived, there seems to be a lack of transparency. We don't get a lot of communication from the board until they're pressed to do it. We don't get a lot of communication from the president unless he's pressed to do it. And any information that I've found, I've had to dig to find. So transparency is an issue on the back of communication, which is an issue on the back of technology, in that our website is not good. There's no real good place to go and get all the information. And USPSA really should be a one-stop shop. You should be able to do everything you need to do as a member on the USPSA website. But currently we're operating on 20 to 30-year-old technology and something that is really just not modern.
Okay, so communication, the website. What other issues do you see? Like things that piss you off about USPSA or things you don't like?
It's not broken between the unload and show clear, between the buzzer and the unload and show clear. Everything seems to work there. We all seem to have fun. We all seem to have a pretty good fix on what the rules are. There's nothing broken about the sport, but everything that we're doing to try to facilitate the sport tends to be an embarrassment to the members, and that really just shouldn't be so, because it's not rocket surgery. It's just regular business, and in the business world, the things that we do have a better speed to market than a volunteer board and a part-time president, and that's why I'm really glad to see the board step up and declare the need for a full-time president.
Okay, so you're talking that USPSA kind of like administratively or whatever has these problems, has these issues. Could you give us some examples, things that are messed up?
Well, one of the most recent ones that kind of cropped up today is we've not paid our bills for the 2013 and 2014 Nationals. There are some bills in dispute. There was no contract. This was all operated on a handshake agreement between the president and the guy who owns the range. And really, that's kind of sloppy. While it's a shame in a volunteer sport we have to have a contract, given that we don't want to be paying bills for a Nationals forever that we didn't expect, or that we can't seem to get our bills paid, we really need to try to have a window for getting those things done, much like we do in the real world. I don't know any place that holds their financials over from year to year to year. At some point you have to report what those are with no forthcoming adjustments. And so, just the simple business of getting things like that done. Our technology, we don't need to be leaking everyone's password that could have been easily avoided by a regular review of our technology resource. The entire embarrassment of everyone thinking there was a financial scandal when, in fact, it was simply a difference in accounting, and that accounting system that they were using was not something that I'd ever heard of, nor any of the accountants I talked to about it. So, to hold up an entire expense report over a small and nominal expense seemed a little ludicrous to me as well. But, that's all just stuff that should never get to the membership. I mean, we should never have the embarrassment of having to talk about this on a podcast to the rest of the world and make them think that we're all a bunch of jerks who simply can't do anything and that our organization is in trouble, because it's really not in trouble.
Okay. I guess the reason I'm kind of following up, like, what are the issues in USPSA? In the front site interview, the 1 page of space you got, which I realized isn't a whole lot, you said list 3 things that USPSA is doing wrong. Number 1, steel challenge. Number 2, 3-gun. And then number 3 was advanced planning. So, like, kind of pretending that, like most USPSA members, I don't care about steel challenge or 3-gun. Let's talk about, the other stuff they're doing wrong. You've cited a few things, right, that USPSA is messing up. All right. Anything else you can think of that you don't like?
Really, I don't come up with issues that aren't business related. Like I said earlier, the sport is fine, the game is fine. I would like to see there to be more of an incentive for clubs to affiliate. And whether you're the half of the membership that is for growth or the half of the membership that is not for growth, to grow this sport, we're going to require more entry points. I don't think that our demographic wants to go to a match and wait longer than they already do to complete the match. I think that more matches equal growth, not necessarily marketing and not having a place to put these folks.
Okay, good. I dig that. Now, let's talk about the other things you wanted to talk about. 3-gun. USPSA 3-gun, you wrote it's the least attended, least liked, and least promoted brand of 3-gun. What do you want to do to fix that?
Well, I don't think that we have to make everything fit in our USPSA box to make it fun. And so for 3-gun to be more like the more successful brands of 3-gun, perhaps we should partner with some of the other organizations. There are 5 or 6 really good 3-gun matches in this country that could be a stop on the USPSA 3-gun tour, or we could be a stop on their tour. Certainly, we have members who are good at 3-gun and put on successful matches who would love a seat at the table when it comes to committee work on what to do with that sport. And so instead of trying to say, okay, we're going to take 3-guns and we're going to force them into the little box that is USPSA, perhaps we need to partner with some of those organizations and at a bare minimum bring our knowledgeable members in and let them make the decision, because seldom are your board members going to be 3-gunners, and a lot of your presidents aren't. I know that the last 2 have some 3-gun experience, especially Mike Foley when he was in office. But there's no reason that we can't borrow on the successes of other organizations if we're going to stay involved in 3-gun. And I think that that's a decision that over time the board has to make, but it needs to make that based on input from the membership. And the best way I know to do that is task committees to come with solutions to the board that are more like what's going on in the marketplace, in this case 3-gun.
All right, good. That does it for me. Hopkins, before we go to the Facebook questions, you got anything?
No, I got stuff on Facebook as well.
All right, cool. All right, Mike, I solicited questions for people from Facebook, the ones that weren't completely retarded or were in some way interesting. I'll read them to you. Here's one. Why can't we have a true single USPSA Nationals in one place, all the same stages for everyone? Everyone shoot in the same 3 or 4 days. Wouldn't it be logical for ROs to at least have a week off from work instead of multiple times in a year? Wouldn't it be nice to have that? Says this guy.
You know, when it comes to nationals, you can ask every member that you run into, and the common denominator is everyone wants it to be in their backyard, and everyone wants it to be either in their division or all divisions, and so the problem with that is if you contract the nationals as a single nationals, a lot of the volunteers do is without have to take an entire week off work to be there. Maybe they don't get a week. Maybe it's easier for them to be gone from their work 2 or 3 days at a time. You know, that's a question that we could likely ask. We could likely get all the information from our volunteers and from our members about what their preference would be in a measurable way. It's my opinion that nationals works well if you offer multiple venues in multiple locations and rotate them such that everyone has a chance to have a geographically easy to get to nationals. And those of us who like to shoot every gun that there is, perhaps attend them all.
All right. So that would be your inclination, independent of any membership suggestions.
One more time, please.
That would be your opinion, independent of membership suggestions, right?
That's my opinion. And you know, the president that we seat in January will have to make that decision on the 2016 Nationals without member input. However, going forward for 2017, 2018, 2019, I think we need to survey the people who have shot nationals, who are shooting nationals, who intend to shoot nationals, and see what they would like as far as locations, venues, whether we go back to back, you know, whether the format is back to back or whether it is all disparate, you know, 6 different nationals. I'd like to hear from the actual competitors in a measurable way. As it stands right now, we're simply collecting data one piece at a time, and there's nobody ever looking at what the statistical analysis tells us.
All right, let's move on to the next question. What does a bad club look like? Is it in USPSA's scope to improve bad clubs? If yes, then how would you do that?
I'm not sure that I understand the definition of a bad club. To me, the only thing that a club could do poorly is not offer USPSA in the brand that we're accustomed to it, i.e. not follow the rules, i.e. not follow the equipment rules in the divisions. If a club is not doing something it's supposed to as far as rules, the director of NROI's responsibility is to get them squared away. Now that's a double-edged sword because we also don't want to do anything to drive clubs away, you know, and have them go out and do their own thing or run outlaw matches. And, you know, we talked earlier about Steel Challenge a little bit, and outlaw matches are pretty much the norm in Steel Challenge, and there's hardly any reason for a club to affiliate, and that shouldn't be so. So, you know, to turn a bad club around, I guess it starts with whatever the infraction is that makes them a bad club. I don't guess there's any other definition of a bad club.
That sounds plenty fair to me. All right. What is the last decision that an elected official made at a national or organizational level that resulted in a specific, measurably positive impact on shooters at the local level at a typical weekend match? So what this guy's getting at is, I just shoot club matches. What's President Foley going to do for me?
Well, President Foley's a club shooter. You know, I shoot 1 or 2 majors a month, and all the rest of the matches I shoot are club matches. I was the assistant MD at my local club for many, many years, and most of the people that we come in contact with that aren't at the nationals or aren't at the area matches are club shooters. And there has to be enough member benefit for a guy to affiliate. And so if you're not interested in the classification system and you're not interested in shooting major matches, then the common denominator between clubs and majors would be rule set. Perhaps the consistency of the rules is important to that shooter. But I think we need to have other member benefits. I just recently read that Remington is going to allow USPSA members to buy a gun at 50% off retail, which is a nice incentive. It would behoove us to offer other member incentives, and I don't have a laundry list of what I think those should be, but certainly I have enough contacts in the industry to try to mimic some of those programs and try to put it together for shooters to be able to get gear at a reasonable price, but also for clubs to be able to get steel targets and props and other things that they need to put on their match. And we should utilize the club liaison position that they've created, to make sure that we're communicating with the clubs from HQ. Unlike my predecessors, I don't think that it's appropriate to always give the Nationals sponsorship coordinator's job to my girlfriend or wife, as some of them have. And I'd love to see that in the club liaison positions merged together so that we could get a
Well, just to follow up on that, a lot of people probably don't know what you just referenced about the Nationals sponsorship coordinator.
Sure. There is a very small salary position that historically has been given to the president's wife or the president's girlfriend for as long as I can remember to coordinate sponsor prizes for the Nationals. And while I'm sure my girlfriend would like that job, I think we might have members that are way more qualified and way more networked than she is. And so it's my opinion that if we could merge two of those smaller jobs together to create a full-time position and build that position with some accountability, that we would be better as an organization rather than just give it to somebody because they're your wife or because they're your girlfriend. And I don't want to take anything away from the ladies who've done those jobs, because some of them have done a fine job, but I don't think that nepotism is really the way that we should go, given that it's 2015 and that our members are a little tired of what they perceive to be a good old boys network.
Oh. Matt, go with your follow-up.
I'd just like you to expand. One of your big things you're running on is getting member input. How would you go about doing that? What specific plans did you have to do that?
Well, it is much easier when you pick up the phone and you call someone who is the sole proprietor or the president or the VP of sales for one of the people in the industry that supports our sport for some of those companies, and you say, hey, Matt, it's Mike, and we really are looking for someone to sponsor the Nationals. And you don't have to say, now, who are you? And probably because I know you, you can't give me a BS answer like, well, we're looking at, our long-term plans here. I'll be like, come on, dude, we need some guns.
That's exactly the answer Matt gives to people. It actually is. I've heard him do it.
So, the same old put-offs don't work when you're networked like I am. A couple of my opponents seem to think that it's wrong for someone to be from the industry or to have shot for sponsors. And my opinion is that the network that I've built over the years in doing this actually benefits the job way more than the detriment. And I don't know of any conflict of interest that's ever arisen as a shooter who had been sponsored trying to get someone to sponsor the Nationals. Anybody who will write us a check will be my new best friend. Got that, Hopkins?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. The next question is actually more of a statement, and you actually did just sort of hit on it. This guy's comment: we've had a run with the big name industry insider GM. Now we need a businessman who understands a predominantly volunteer organization. We just need to rewrite the bylaws to actually give the president the power he needs to fix some things and implement new ideas while not being hamstrung by the BOD. We need to stop this good old boys club mentality in the USPSA leadership. What's your reaction to that, Mike?
I couldn't agree more with that statement. While I have been well networked and I've made my living in the industry that supports our sport, and I shot for one title sponsor for 10 years, I'm not going to win a Nationals. I'm a 4-division master. I've been, a quarter point away from GM. I intend to make it. I don't intend for it to ever be a thing. And to be frank, a couple of pistols and some match expenses don't buy me. That's so insignificant to my income and what the income of the USPSA president should be, that whatever's happened in the past is in the past, and whoever takes this job, whether it's me or one of the other guys, should represent the organization first and foremost 100% of the time. It doesn't mean that you should crap all over your friends who've been good to you, but you shouldn't give them any favors either.
Okay. The next Facebook comment or question is, everyone talks about growing the sport. What would we do if we actually grew? Most major matches sell out in a matter of days or even hours. Local matches are getting so crowded that we have to spend all damn day out there. You have to pre-register for some local matches now. Squads are full, and it's a pain in the ass to get squatted with your buddies. Jay Townsend says his local match has to run a waiting list. WTF. A local match with 6 or 7 stages and 100-plus shooters isn't that fun. I'm missing some majors because I didn't sign up 6 months in advance. What are we going to do if we grow? Is the answer more major matches on the same weekend or more sections and areas? It seems to me that 10 or 20% growth would crush us. We may be at a tipping point. What do you think?
Jay brings up an interesting point, and our membership is divided into 2 camps as I've talked to people the last 6 months from all over the country about this very topic. And half of our members seem to be for growth. They seem to think that we need all this explosive growth. The other half seems to think that we shouldn't grow at all because they're already waiting, as they put it, too damn long to get in the match, or they have to sign up a year in advance before they know what their vacation schedule is, and all these problems trying to get in. So my opinion is that we're not going to be NASCAR. I don't think that our demographic wants 10,000 soccer moms coming over the fence tomorrow, but I think that they do want the sport to always be here. So growth and attrition have been something that USPSA has dealt with forever, and it tends to be that if we get a member for a year and keep them, that we'll keep them for a long time. If we get them for a year and they don't come back for that second year, we're probably not going to see them again. So in order to grow, we have to add more matches, as Jay pointed out, more points of entry. So whether that's local matches or major matches or for-profit ranges having a midweek match or whatever that is, we have to have more points of entry to grow. Now, we could probably add another 10,000 members and never know it. They tend to sneak under the wall, so to speak. And so we're always growing because we're always inviting other people to come join us. But our growth and attrition have to stay manageable, and I would have to agree with Jay. We really have to have more matches to add more members.
Okay, good.
Sounds good.
Hopkins, what's your question?
Yeah.
The foundation of our sport, financial and social, is the local clubs. What are you as president going to do to increase support for the local clubs?
The local clubs really, more than anybody, need for the technology to be right. They need for the plugins to be right, the scoring system to be right, the upload to be easy, the credit card portal to be easy. They also need the ability to get some help to get started. They can't all go out and buy steel targets and Texas Stars and a year's worth of targets and pasters and fault lines and all of those things. And so I know that there is a big discussion going on right now at the board level about how they're going to use activity points going forward and how they're going to award some of those things. And this is another place where I think that if we partner with some people in the industry, that we could perhaps give clubs an easy plug-and-play way to start and grow and maintain a match. Also, I think that the club level guys want access to instruction. I think they want access to more information, and obviously the places that are out there that have been given to them are not sufficient because they're always hungry for more information. I mean, look at the Duty Project Forum, for God's sakes. Why would anybody go there unless they were hungry for information for the show?
All right. Hey, not to put words in your mouth, or I'm just trying to envision what you're talking about when you say a plug-and-play way to get a match going. Are you talking about partnering with like a steel target company and a cardboard target company, and maybe dropping a Connex on a range that doesn't have USPSA matches?
Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily dropping a Connex container with a match in a box,
Oh,
but
that'd be so cool.
for them to finance. The presidential helicopter might be heavy enough to pull the Connex container from. I'll have to let you know after they give me Pimp Force 1 or whatever we're going to call the presidential helicopter. but honestly, to be able to buy those targets in some sort of pool format, to be able to get the steel and maybe finance it with the person who's selling it to them. Maybe we buy enough of it to loan it out to clubs in a rent-to-own sort of fashion, whatever it takes to make them successful. The club liaison is raring to go on that, and I don't think that he's been able to get off the ground and get much work from the ED or from the board of directors. And it would be in our best interest if that and the other position I talked about earlier were combined, and we had someone on the ground who was going to travel the country and help people get set up. And I know that there are plenty of us who have gone to neighboring states and helped people start a new match, maybe 3 or 4 hours away in your own state. And so there should be some sort of a program such that new clubs aren't just on their own to maybe buy one box of targets a month and try to make a go of it. And having been in a position where I can see what supplies new clubs buy, I kid you not, a lot of them are buying a box of targets and a roll of pastries on Thursday for a Saturday match, hoping that they can pay for it. And that shouldn't be the case.
All right, excellent. Candace, you got a question, I think.
Oh, I was just actually he answered it because I was wondering what exactly would a local club benefit from? I mean, I'm in a local match that can't really afford any steel targets, and trying to come up with some ways to pay for it to grow the match. But it would have been nice if there was some sort of way to pay for it with a little bit of a discount or something through essentially a gigantic USPSA thing. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
They'll probably hang me high for this one, but perhaps you could let a club start for 6 months with no fees, no mission count fees. Now, I'm not sure how that would affect the revenue until I really look at, but a new club is not in our existing revenue, so why wouldn't we let a new club that had never been in that location before start out with some sort of an incentive to apply all of their mission count toward the targets? I think after 6 months or a year, that would yield dividends back to the organization, and the club would be on more solid footing rather than have to buy this stuff with every last penny they could scrounge.
All right. I have one final question for you. If you look at the guys running, as far as I know, they're all good guys. They're all smart guys. Why should I vote for Mike?
Well, not only am I the best looking, not only am I going to give free health insurance to the single stack shooters and make the open shooters pay for it, but honestly, it's experience with a 501c3 and 501c7 nonprofit, experience in for-profit businesses, and an ability to bring people together and make things happen. And I am a club shooter, and I am a multi-division shooter, and I shoot major events all year long. So I'm one of you, and I hear you, and I agree with you, and I know for a fact that we can do better than some of the asinine hijinks that have been our management for the last few years. And we got to get out of the 80s and get into 2015 before we can do better.
All right, well, that wraps it up for me. Candace, you have any follow-ups?
Yeah, because, my question that I'm asking people is, why should I even vote for a USPSA president? Is it really going to make a difference?
For the first time ever, Candace, I really feel that we have the best shot ever at making something out of this USPSA presidency. And the reason being is the board's decided to make this a full-time position. and I'm willing to take this job full time. I would wake up every day and work for USPSA, just like I've worked for the last gazillion employers, just like I have added to their bottom line. I would want to enhance the return to the member, and it's really about putting on good competitions, not messing up the business side of it, keeping people happy and having fun. It shouldn't be a distraction, and we shouldn't all be embarrassed every time some new scandal comes out or every time some new phone board meeting agenda comes out. We really should be proud of our organization, and so the reason that you should vote is this is the last chance we have. If we continue the path that we have, we'll continue to get what we're getting. And, it's really hard to say that we're unsuccessful when matches are filling up and selling out. But really, we can do better. And maybe doing better means that we continue to do the same thing, but without all of the embarrassment and without all of the distraction to the membership.
All right, Hopkins, you have one last question, I think.
I have one last one. In the past several years, members have had several situations that have caused them to have trust issues with the organization. What would you do to change that?
Communication. Let's have some reasonable dialogue. Members tell me all the time that they send emails that don't get answered. They tell me all the time that they don't feel like they have a voice. As president, I would encourage people to talk to me about the issues, to email me. I talked to some of the past presidents, and they get a couple thousand emails a week, and they somehow had time to answer them. Let's have the dialogue. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. And there's really not a time, unless we're involved in a lawsuit or something, that the membership shouldn't be told the truth about where the organization's going and what's going on at the board level. And I'm pretty approachable, and I don't see that changing. So, let's talk about it. Let's not have people missing in action who should be leading our charge. Let's have those people working every day and accessible to the point that we can at least ask a question and get an honest, sincere answer, even if that answer maybe is not the one we're looking for.
Satisfied with that, Matt?
Yes.
All right, good. I don't think we have any more questions for you, Mike. Do you have anything else you want to say to people? I mean, the internet, well, like 12 people are listening to this. I mean, do you have anything you want to say to them?
12 people. I think a couple thousand people will eventually listen to this.
That's probably true.
And I think it might be the fewest F words that we've ever seen from one of these podcasts. So I think we're on, maybe Paul Highland would grace us with his presence if we could keep this up. But seriously, just give me a chance. Vote for me. I'm one of you. I'm reasonable adult leadership, full-time, transparency, communication, and technology. I mean, this is not rocket surgery. This should be really easy. So help me get there, and we'll try to make this easy.
It works for me. All right, Mike, if people want to, follow up with you, they've got questions they want to ask you, is there any way they can get in touch with you?
There are a million ways they can get in touch with me. We have a Facebook page, Mike Foley for USPSA President. Feel free to message me there. We also have, I'll be at the USPSA Single Stack and Revolver Nationals this weekend. A lot of other messaging on that.
This is going to air on a delay, so we're probably a few weeks away from anybody seeing this. Sorry. But anyway, yes, please.
So just, walk up to me at the match. As long as I'm not in the box, loaded and made ready and getting ready to hear the buzzer, let's talk about it. I'm accessible. Hit me on social media. Take a look at our webpage, Mike Foley for USPSA President. That URL is uspsapresident.com. And if you want to send me an email, MikeFoleyUSA@gmail.com, I'll be happy to answer it. If you're on the USPSA forum or some of the other forums that you're on, hit me up there, either in public or by private message, and we'll talk about it. Whatever you want to talk about.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure people really appreciate you taking the time to answer their questions. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on here.
All right.
Thanks for coming on.
All right. If you have any comments on this, head over to bensteger.com. Email me. I would love to hear from you. So yes, send me those comments, and if at sometime in the future the other two presidential candidates decide to come on, we'll certainly entertain it. But